Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show. Woohoo!
Woohoo! If you've ever wanted to feel more alive in your life, then do we have the Epic Living Show for you. Today, I will talk about living large, feeling more alive, and how to dance with life's events into the unknown. That, plus we'll talk about birth rides and bike rides and birthdays, barrier islands, yes, birth rides, swimming in currents, the oh my. The illusion of separateness, installment plans of tears, closing rituals, ceremonies in the rain, and why clouds in the eclipse might just make for the greatest gift in the world. So, welcome back to
Ooh.
the show, CJ. Are you ready to
I
shine?
am ready to shine. Woohoo!
Woohoo! So before we begin, as strange or not so strange as it may sound, I wonder if we can say something of a prayer or just take a moment for everybody in Texas and Louisiana and every place that right now, as we're recording this, is, I think, just at the start of something
Mm,
very challenging.
yep. Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Go for it.
Okay. Our hearts go out to those people in Texas who have potentially lost their homes, family members are still stranded and waiting upon someone to help them, knowing that love and light surrounds you and supports you through this very, very rough transition.
And I
God
would,
bless.
thank you. And I would say if everyone out there can send love and blessings and prayers to everyone who's being challenged right now, I think that can make a huge, huge energetic difference.
Hmm. Agree.
Thank you.
Yes. Beautiful.
All right. On that note, on that kind of somber note, you look like a weight's been taken off your shoulders,
I
which is
do?
interesting because
That's because
in
I'm
a
wearing a
sense, a weight
sleeveless
has been
top.
taken. Yes, yes,
It's
you
a
are.
sleeveless top. That's what it is. The shirt
All
has been
right.
taken off my shoulders. But I do think some of the weight has been taken off my shoulders. Do I really seem that way? Or are you just
Course, I
saying
wouldn't
that?
say it if I didn't feel it.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. I do feel like some of the weights. I feel lighter. I feel it's weird. I woke up. So we dropped my son off. We were flying through the eclipse on Monday. So literally in the halfway point between Seattle and North Carolina, we saw the eclipse, and luckily the pilot had been following the eclipse over the last year, so he's been so into this, and he got permission to fly divert our flight path a little bit so that we could go directly into the total eclipse of the sun. So we were actually in
This is the
totality.
one in a million flight.
It is one in the million flights. So we were in totality for, I don't know, whatever, the 2 minutes. And it was interesting because the plane, the light just kind of was over the plane and it was kind of getting dark. And then it was just completely this beautiful ink jet black. And then it just kind of slowly came back. And unfortunately, and he was trying to tip the plane so that we could see the eclipse because the sun was, because you're flying below it, so you'd have to look up like this from the seat,
Yeah.
which luckily I had those little eye protectors, so I did that, and I did see it when it was probably like 90% eclipse, but it was just too, there was so much havoc on the plane when there was total eclipse. He's like, please sit down, please stay in your seats, please stay in your seats, because everyone was going
Because
berserk.
I'm busy not flying the plane, but looking up.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was really quite magical. And I'd been given a writing prompt and a prompt from you to get super coherent. So that weekend, I talked to my husband about, I'd listened to your radio show that you had with the gentleman who did the astrology and got clear with joy, leadership, and creativity, and what we wanted to manifest in the next year, and what things we may need to let go of to fully express what we were trying to manifest. So I was typing and writing as we were going through this
Wow.
eclipse on the plane, just like trying to get all my last minute, like I had talked about it on Friday and Saturday. and then or Saturday and Sunday with my husband, and then on Monday I was just typing up my notes and kind of saying verbally, just literally getting into that space up until the eclipse, and then and it was really weird because I wouldn't say it happened immediately, but I got home and I don't even think a tear has been shed. It's bizarre because it was funny because I thought
Well,
before
for,
I
for
even,
those for those who don't know what was going on, you just dropped your eldest son off of
yeah,
college.
to college, and I have been in pre-anticipatory grief for like the last 2 years, I would say, but more, very intensely over the last month. And I had felt like I had just almost shed every tear that there was to be shed with him in his presence. And by the time I dropped him off, I was giving him a hug and just holding him really tight. We were driving to go to drop him off to West Campus in Durham. And I was just holding him and, just saying, I'll miss you a lot. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And then I was just crying. And then I, I told you how there's this big moment that people talk about when you drop your kid off, and usually they describe it as like two tin soldiers that like drop, see each other, hug, turn their backs, and then walk away. And I've been forewarned not to turn back and look at my son because then I'll fall into like a pool of tears. And I thought, okay, screw that. I'm going to just sit out here and watch him walk out into the distance, which is what I thought I'd do.
Become
So,
the pillar of salt.
yeah, so I was just like, I'm going to just stand here and like watch him walk away because that's basically what's happening. So for me to be present and watch him walk away is what I'm going to do. So that's what I did. And after that, I just haven't shed a tear since then. And I don't know whether I'm in shock. I'm waiting for the boon to hit, but I really don't. I don't feel it. Like I don't feel. There have been waves like, waves of like, oh, like just little things. Like we're sitting at our table and we have you kind of have a seating configuration where my son Jida would sit next to his dad and I would sit next to Caden. And so we're sitting and it's like, no Jida, there's just the three of us. And so I thought, well, maybe we should just change seats. Like, so we switched and I said, okay, let's just switch around for dinner. So then actually Kaden and I sat on one side and getting, I'm like, no, this isn't good. This is just switching around. But anyways, it's just little things like that are like, no, that you kind of feel a little bit like it's that there's little differences that happen throughout the whole day. Or I went to get some chocolates at the store and I thought, oh, I'll get Caden this. And then for, well, Jada's not there, so I'm not going to get him chocolate. So it's just those kind of little glitches almost in the
Mhm.
system that are still operative. And those things kind of like little heart pangs. They're not like weeping. There's not a weeping willow scenario. It's just kind of, oh, like that. So, anyways, yeah, it's really weird because I would not have thought of this. But right before, when I got on the plane, I just thought, you're done. I think you need to just put a limit on this. Like you've fully experienced, you fully have leaned into it, you've like gone into this. I didn't fast forward past the pain or the suffering. Really, I would have liked to fast forward past the suffering, but I didn't. I just, felt everything I needed to feel, and then by the time I got there, I didn't have that. I didn't have that sense of loss anymore. Anyways, and I'll have to tell you a story later on. But tell me, you've had a big event. So you had a birthday, right?
We've had many big events. We
Yeah.
have the eclipse, the birthday. This has really been a time of living life large. In fact, I think there's like a tropical storm that I'm just looking out the window that is literally just starting as I'm speaking with you because
Oh
it's
my gosh.
actually taken aim like right for here. So it is a time of living life large.
Wow.
First, the
Wait, this is
eclipse.
different. This is different than the storm that's in Houston, correct? Or is this?
Right. This is the next storm. This
Mm.
is what was called 92L, and they probably announced during my last interview where I had this most amazing interview with Jacqueline Freeman about the Song of Increase, about channeled writings from bees. That's just over the top,
Oh my God.
incredible, incredible, incredible. But I think during that time it became tropical depression or tropical storm Irma. So I think
Oh, so
it's
it's different than
Irma who's
Harvey.
Yes, yes. It goes in alphabetical order. So we've got Harvey, And then next we've got a storm that'll begin with an I, and that's Irma. And so Irma is heading to North Carolina right now as
Oh
we
my
speak.
gosh.
So we
Wow.
started stalking and talking, and now out the window, it's just a deluge. And so I literally get to go after the interview and get some sandbags filled up.
Wow.
So, but it has been a phenomenal time of living life large, of saying you can have your day-to-day show, which is, pretty full on, but we also get to build some color into the rest of your day
Mm-hmm.
and to truly live life so that it's not day after day after day after day after the sameness, even though the sameness has been phenomenal and the guests have been incredible, but to bring some color back into our experiences. So the eclipse is one of those opportunities where we were 4.5 hours or so away from the totality.
Mm-hmm.
And we chose to drive there. In fact, we strapped kayaks onto the car, we strapped mountain bikes onto the car, and we headed off at like 3 o'clock in the morning because we didn't know
Wow.
what traffic would be like or
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica directed on all these back roads to South Carolina where it was pouring,
Oh
where we
no.
where
Wow.
we had planned on going. So we ended up going instead to where I had originally envisioned, a place called Lake Marion.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this vision of Lake Marion, of being there, of kayaking, of playing, of it actually being really cloudy, but at the last moment, the eclipse coming out. So we
Mm.
get there. It was actually pretty sunny when we got there. And we went kayaking and we did a little bit of swimming. Well, she kept kayaking. I kept following the kayak around with swimming. And there's islands. Lake Marion's the largest lake in South Carolina. So there were a bunch of islands in it. And there was an island across from where we went. Oh, we found this place by muscle testing, intuition, and Jessica looking at a map going, okay, does place 18 feel right or 21? 22 or 23? And just we went on pure intuition that took us to this landing that you didn't even know, wasn't even on a map. We drove past it, and I'm like, I want to go back and check this out. And we doubled the car back around, and there was this just perfect place to park. And
Mm.
we kayak out into this island, and it's got a perfect moss-covered lagoon. So
Oh
like
my
it's like
God.
Jurassic Park moss coming down. We had brought stones with us to do an intention prayer for calling in our baby in the future.
Oh.
And so as the eclipse started, it's like 99%, 98, or 1%, 2%, 3%. We went into this lagoon and we said our prayers for the next year, just did this amazing sacred ceremony. And then the clouds covered up and it started to pour.
Oh my.
And so the eclipse is gone, it's pouring. We've said our prayers. I'm taking this as a good sign. We hold on. I had thought about connecting with a tree during this time. What ends up that in this little lagoon, I'm holding on to a cedar that's growing out of the water for us to stay huddled together in the rain. And we
Hmm.
got protected by the cedar branches. We didn't get wet. The rain stopped. There's maybe 20 minutes of the eclipse left. And we go paddle out, and there had been jet skis in the main part of the lake. So we go to this other section of this lake, miles around to shore, nobody, nothing. And we're out in the middle of nowhere, and we're going, did we miss it? Did we miss it? It's getting a little dim. Did we miss it? And I told Jessica, I said, I still have a feeling at the last moment the sun's going to come out and we're going to see the eclipse. It's going to come right out between the clouds. I'm looking at my watch. I'm thinking maybe it's done. And I'm like, and if it doesn't happen, that's fine too.
Right.
But then at the last moment, a sliver, the tiniest sliver of the sun appears.
Hmm.
And you hear from like a mile away on shore, you hear all these people going, woohoo, yay! And you can see it and you look at it, and then the moon covered it up.
Hmm.
And it went completely black, and it paused, 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 and then light shot out all around the black sun. They
Mm.
call it the diamond ring or the corona.
Right.
And it's just
Wow.
dancing white light. And to yell, diamond ring! And then I just started bawling.
What did
I
you
just,
yell?
diamond ring, because that's what they call it, diamond ring. You go stupid at these times. Yes, I'm out in the middle of a lake going, diamond ring.
I
We're
love that.
holding kayaks next to each other. I start bawling and bawling and bawling. The world goes totally still. Not a bird, not a fish, not a person on land, not an anything. Totally pitch black around us. We're on the lake. I'm laying back. I'm concerned if I lay back too far trying to take a picture or two, am I going to tip over into the water? Venus came out, the corona came out, couldn't see any stars around because it was cloud-filled sky.
Right.
There's thunderstorms flickering in the distance.
Wow.
Dumbfounding 2.5 minutes of, I don't have words for it, the most sacred, special, religious, phenomenal, joyous, tearful. Not, all of these words fall short.
Mm.
It was a moment where it was if the veil had been lifted or the curtains had been parted, and you saw that there was a lot more of a show that meets the eye. Or you saw, what is it, the Wizard of Oz. You saw
Mm-hmm.
the guy pulling the levers of the machine. It was something so beyond this world.
Mm.
And then at 2.5 minutes, Jessica's like, there it is. And just this tiniest sliver of sun appears, and then whoosh,
Wow.
and the whole place went light, even though it's just a fraction of sun. I took pictures of her. She's glowing red because first we had seen the Bailey's beads,
Right.
which is these tiny little bits of red light coming out around the sun, which is the craters on the moon.
Oh, wow.
One of the most dumbfounding. It's up there with my marriage.
How were you able to take photos of it? Could you take photos with a special lens, or what did you do?
Well, they say before and afterhand you're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
use a special lens. It's only got a sliver. It's like 1% we're taking pictures. During, you don't need the lens on. And I was concerned, did I have any good pictures? I wouldn't look for a few days because your brain is just not attached
Right.
to
Right.
anything during this time. When the world stops, you're not thinking. It was instantly the deepest meditative experience of my life. It,
Wow.
it, it was like so far beyond an ayahuasca experience because you're just looking at the world. Day has become night. It's a black sun, and there's light, golden light shooting out from behind a black sun.
Hmm.
And the world is just not a sound, nothing.
Hmm.
It
Beautiful.
so profound. So after that, 10 minutes later, all of a sudden Jessica's like, why are the birds making so much noise? They came back to life as if it was morning again. And so we got
Oh,
at 3
wow.
o'clock in the afternoon, birds chirping as if it was 5 in the morning. It was such a special, incredible experience. And I think a tone setter, like you said, we're
Mm-hmm.
still in a time of setting
Mm-hmm.
intention, such a tone setter for everything to come for the next year or for the next how many years?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Gorgeous. So then you were on the lake for how much longer? Were you deluged with rain right afterwards?
Oh, great point. So within a couple minutes, the clouds came back over. We
Mm-hmm.
never saw the rest of the eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect that way.
Mm-hmm.
The winds came up and blew us towards some land. Eventually, we kind of regained our senses, and Jessica's giggling, going, did you know we got blown all the way over here? I'm like, yeah, it was kind of funny because we were just not present. You were
Right.
present, but you were. And so we made our way back to land. It took a lot longer than expected.
Oh, wow.
And then began the race way back. First, we got attacked by fire ants on our feet on the beach, putting the kayaks up. That was a whole fun
Oh,
story.
ouch.
Because it's funny because here you are in the most blissful experience. Ah, I'm like the Dalai Lama.
Right.
Ah, and then you're getting bit by all these little fire ants, and finally you're like, move the car! I'm moving the car now, now, now. The juxtaposition of quote reality. And I still have welts on my feet, and we're 6, 7 days.
Oh, man. Oh, those
So
are the little red ones, right? The red ones, so they bite.
they bite something
And they have like a
fierce,
little bit of poison in them, is that right?
something of that sort. So yeah, some little Cajun fire ants going for us. So that was that. It was such an incredible experience. Fast forward 4 days later, 3 days later was my birthday.
Yes.
And Jessica had talked about, well, we traveled all this distance for the eclipse. Maybe we'll just stay local.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, no, I want to do, and it wasn't a no, I put my foot down. It was a, I really want to do something very special. And I'm like, I'm not sure. And I had put on my calendar dolphin watching from last year, and that's really what brought us to the island. And I'm like, maybe it's going to a barrier island in North Carolina. We had one in mind, and I couldn't decide. And she goes, all right, Michael, I'll make it simple for you. I don't want to go dolphin watching. I'm like, oh, okay.
Aw.
And then she goes, I don't want to go to a barrier island. And I'm like, oh. And she goes, see, you did know what you wanted. You want the barrier island. So we got up super early. She's a trickster.
That's really good.
It worked. It worked. You yank it away, you know what you
Yeah,
want. And
exactly.
we drove. It was nothing. It was nothing like going to South Carolina. We drove an hour and a half to a ferry.
Right.
Obviously left really early. We needed the first ferry because we wanted to come back same day.
Mm-hmm.
Got to a 7 a.m. ferry, 2.5 hour ferry ride
Wow.
over to Ocracoke Island, which is the island of Blackbeard the pirate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and spent this whole day on this beautiful barrier island where I think she said it was 6 sports in total. First, we kayaked because we brought the car with a kayak and the bikes. First, we kayaked, then we cycled, then we hiked, we ran, we swam, and maybe there's at
This is
least one
all in one day?
against a jig. Oh, poor Jessica was toast
Oh
by
my God.
around 2:30 as we're looking for an iced coffee because it was fairly hot, and we hung on this most amazing beach where they allow cars to go on it and
Oh wow.
pull up to the beach, and you can have a tailgate party out the back because the beach is huge and it's relatively empty on this
Wow.
16-mile long Outer Banks island. It was incredible. And then we found this last trail at the end. The guy at the coffee shop said, you have to go to this place. It's got old growth oak.
Hmm.
And all you need to do is say, Michael, the trees are calling. And I'm there. And we danced by the trees, ran barefoot through this forest, and popped out at this little cove. And Jessica did the Peace Corps in St. Vincent and the Grenadines years ago. And she goes, this is just like a beach in the Caribbean. And by the
Mm.
time she finished that, I'm already in the water. Ferry's coming in half an hour. I don't care. I'm doing the backstroke. I'm underneath. I'm having the ball.
Oh my God.
It was living life large. That's an experience I'll remember for
I
the rest of my life.
love it.
Remember, we didn't get to any little knickknack stores or galleries. I'm going to literally have to bring her back for that. It was such a special little place. But it was just, we danced with the earth on my birthday. We just danced.
Wow. Nice. Beautiful. Woo! That's a perfect way for you guys to celebrate your birthday. Which birthday is it?
That is number, this is going to dumbfound some people out there, but this is number 47.
47. Why is
So,
that going to dumbfound people? Because they
no,
think you're like 23?
yeah, pretty much. I'm okay with that. So if we delete that out of the show, no. I feel like
Wow.
Benjamin Button. I don't feel like I'm getting older. I feel like the best years are to come. The greatest health is to come. I am bringing more centeredness, groundedness, presence into my days, and it's getting more and more enjoyable.
Yeah. That's great. What a way. That's just such a perfect way of celebrating your birthday. It really sounds like a special day. So you went biking, hiking, swimming,
Mhm.
kayaking. Am I missing anything?
We definitely got some running in there.
And running.
Plus nature photography of frogs and birds. And Jessica's hiking down this trail and she goes, "Oh my God, it's moving!" It was a one-armed, like pirate Captain Jack's crabby thingy that has one giant crab arm and then one tiny little crab arm.
With
And
a
so it
hermit
carried.
crab? Or wait, what is this?
I don't know. It's a land crab that had a giant arm in front of us, and they're running along on the trail. And we're on like barefoot.
Okay, and then what were you doing? So what was swimming in the currents? Is that what you were doing after before the boat came or something different than that?
So the next day, I went out on a bike ride. That's 2 days ago,
Hmm.
and wasn't planning on it, but had my
The
fastest
next day,
bike ride.
you mean after your birthday?
After my
Okay.
birthday, I had my fastest bike ride in years, and per the clock that was timing me. which was just phenomenal because, here I am now turned another year older and just flew and had just the most awesome, awesome bike ride. And then the day after it, yesterday, was a day of strong currents here off of what's considered the southernmost barrier island, Emerald Isle. And so I swam into the current. I'm a lot braver swimming or riding a bicycle into headwinds and swimming into currents because when you get tired, they bring you home.
Right. Right. Smart. Yeah.
And so I swam into this really strong current, and it was just such a blissful experience. And yes, I was really brave in how far I could go. I'm just along the shore. It's not a big
Right.
deal. I'm not going out into the middle of nowhere. But then you turn around and you're like surfing the waves coming home. And just that connection to the earth during this time, for me, and connecting to the earth and that feeling of being alive, of movement, feels so incredibly special. And it really feels to me, I'm like, let's get out once a week. Let's do something big. It doesn't have to be, off the charts big, but let's do something that makes us feel like time isn't just passing us by, but we have epic little mini adventures in our
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm. I love the idea of an epic mini adventure. And okay, it took 2 hours on the to get up there, right? An hour to drive, then 2 hours. But like, just think about all the stuff that you jammed inside of that. You really did make it epic. I'm,
And there was the balance. There was the yin yang. You got to relax on the boat. So it wasn't all go, go, go. The boat is how do you feel? What are you thinking? What do you think for the future? That was the downtime.
mm, so what were? I'm just curious. So per your astrology guy, he had said that you want to focus on how you want it to feel. And with respect to creativity, joy, and leadership. So what were the things that you were trying to manifest before the eclipse or during the eclipse, or I'm not sure what your process was. What was your process and what were you trying to manifest and what has happened since then?
Oh, that's an excellent question. It's so soon. I can't say I know for sure what is manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there is such an engine underneath the surface of energy going on in our lives where I mean, for instance, the show, we're getting 5 to 10 guest pitches a day
Wow.
right
That's
now.
great.
It is
That's great
dumbfounding.
and overwhelming.
Yeah,
So,
thank you, Jessica. It is astounding how much is taking on with that, with the coaching business, with every aspect. And so now I want to call in freedom. It's something we talked about last time. It's how can we build the life where I dive into these interviews? I'm having more fun than ever with the interviews. It is like such candy, so enjoyable. It hit a new level of excitement for me. And I'm like, how do we work to get us out of all the rest so
hmm
we can focus what we're best on? So I want to call in that team this year so that we can have more freedom, so that we can travel. I want to take this show on the road. I want to be able to have the microphone and go meet with special people.
hmm
Everybody's not special, but you get what I'm saying,
I
is to
totally
go
get it.
and to be there with them anywhere in the world. So that's part of this big picture vision. Of course, we're calling in a family now. So that's part of this vision. Having greater health in my second half of life and what that feels
Mm,
like, and to do epic adventures and maybe racing or something of the sort, not to beat anybody. I'm like, I want to love up everybody, but to see what I can do. I'm so
hmm
excited for that feeling of great health in the future and have abundance on such an incredible, no apologies, over the top level that we can do some really big and incredible things in this world to help people.
hmm
And I'm calling that in, and I can see it so clearly. I can feel it so clearly. So I see us traveling. I see us having freedom. I see us having the time wealth and the physical wealth, and just having tremendous happiness. From a spiritual side of things, I didn't say I want this, that, or the other. It's just more alignment every day. Bring me
hmm
into more alignment, more attunement, have me to be in more coherence with the universe. I think that's all I can ask for, and each day to do more and more to help.
Mm. I just got out of a workshop. I had so many things. So I just got back from dropping off my son, And then that was on a Thursday. Then Friday was just, unpacking and just getting everything kind of organized and straightened out because it's a little bit discombobulating, just this whole big transition. And then on Saturday, I had forgotten, but on Saturday and Sunday, I had been invited to go to Paul Selig's event here in Seattle. And
Awesome.
yeah, and I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth, which is his mantra of kind of tuning and aligning us to our true divine nature. I guess that's my shortcut. You probably would have a different way of, do you have a different way of explaining it? That's my kind of shortcut of it. So
Fair
that,
enough. He's a very special medium or channel or just an amazing guy who used to be a tenured professor in screenwriting who
at
has guides
NYU,
that
yeah.
speak through him
Yeah.
and says the most profound things that are clearly not coming from him, as
Right.
special as he is. The words just flow through him.
Yeah, and so he has one of the guidance that he got, which was if people want to be in alignment with their divine nature or their higher self, that they are to declare, like, I know who I am, which is, an aspect of God. I know what I am, which is the energy, energy versus matter, not divided or separate from God. And I know how I serve, which is to take all of your greatest gifts and share them. And so that was his mantra. And this weekend, he has been doing these lectures all over the country, of which this was one of them in Seattle. And this was on the Book of Freedom. And I thought, oh, how appropriate, because one of the things I wanted to feel in what I was trying to manifest is freedom. And so his whole, he gave us a preview of chapter 5. And it was talking about how and it's a very simple attunement, which is I'm free, I am free, I am free. And it's you just say that and it's really just about like letting go of the collective consciousness, the kind of the things that hem you in, that say that you have to do this. Michael, you have to have a show. It has to be 5 days a week and it has to look like this. Like all those things. It's like, that's just the collective consciousness and wisdom, common wisdom, so to speak, but relying on your own. If you can tune into your own truth, that's the only truth. If you tune into your own truth, all the other things that are lies will just fall apart, fall away, dissolve. So it was about uh, catching yourself so that you're not subjected to collective consciousness and the restrictions that it has with that, and then really looking at fear every single day, moving away from fear and moving towards love. And he had two really simple tactical things to try. One was when you're making a decision, just always ask, am I making this decision out of love or fear? Because if you make the decision out of fear, fear attracts fear. So any decision you make out of fear will then attract fear to whatever the decision associated with the decision. And then uh, f- uh, that was one. And then the other thing was so the other was not to condone anyone. Don't judge, don't condone any. Just be open. Allow others to be free as well. So give yourself the freedom to do what you want, but also give others the freedom to do what they want, which I thought was was really interesting, a little bit perplexing in today's times, but I thought was kind of an interesting uh, directive, and it made me think a lot about how I think differently, and so it was very interesting. So freedom was one of my things too, and that was one of the things. Since I know that you had just said I want to be in attunement with freedom, so it's just simply saying I am free, I am free, I am free.
So let's do this for everybody. Let's do the full enchilada,
Okay.
which um, it'd be even better if we had Paul here, but we do have universe here.
Yes.
So maybe we
So the
okay.
so the the alignment is I know who I am in truth.
I know who I am in truth.
I know what I am in truth.
I know what I am in truth.
I know how I serve in truth.
I know how I serve in truth.
I am free.
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 Woohoo!
Woohoo! Perfect.
And here's what's so fascinating. So, I'm sitting there typing like crazy when I'm on the plane. And, for me, creativity is all about fun and freedom. And living life is about being completely present and powered up, empowered, and no longer thinking scarce thoughts or not enough thoughts. It's just like I am empowered, I'm charged up, I'm totally ready and able to just, move forward. And then leadership is just leading with love. Those are just my simple like ways that I wanted to feel. And what's so fascinating is I got home after this really long trip and going through all these energetic things and kind of wishes and dreaming and I, I I the weirdest thing happened to me. I'm very, I would say I used to be really obsessed with accomplishment to the point that I've been working over the last 2 years and not getting too fixated on numbers. Like, what's my website? What's the traffic? How many users? How many subscribers? Like, my whole life has been run that way. And over the last 2 years, I've been just trying to like let go, let go, let go, let go. Just like whatever is going to occur is going to occur and not to measure my worthiness based on those kind of metrics. And I would say that it was funny because I said to my husband, he's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "What do you want to do?" I really, I have a whole bunch of stuff that I could be doing, maybe should be doing, but I don't really want to do them. And I have reached a point, and I'm not even sure what happened during the eclipse, but during that reboot of my consciousness, I just don't care. I've never been at a point where I don't care. I want to help people. If I help people, great. If I don't help people, great. If I help one person, great. If I help 1 million people, great. I'm not even sure what's happened, but something fundamentally shifted. And I think I said to him, like, I think it's because I think I've accomplished one of the greatest things I'm supposed to accomplish, which
Mhm.
is, a good, like, I'm 80% there with Caden, but I'm 100% done with Jida and raising him to be the man that he is. And I'm done. Like, I feel complete. I don't have to accomplish anything. And I didn't even have to accomplish that. But there is a sense of completeness that I just have never had before until just recently. So maybe that's what you see as like the burden being lifted off of my shoulder. It's not necessarily Jida or my kids. It's just like generally like I'm free. I don't have to do any of these things, and I'm okay. I can love myself and not, you know, have to be any of those things. I'm just okay. And it's weird because when I woke up and both of us, you talked to me about this, and now I do this when I can remember. As I wake up in the morning and write guidance, and I woke up in the morning and I thought I feel a sense of emptiness. And the weird thing is the emptiness was um, a different quality of emptiness. Like there's an emptiness from the sense of loss, and there's an emptiness which is like everything is now empty. It's open and just full of possibilities of things that it could be, and having to resist myself from like wanting to fill things up, but just sitting in that emptiness and still feeling complete. And that's kind of where I've emerged to lately. It's the weirdest thing. I'm not sure what happened during that eclipse, but I know, and I hope it lasts for a long time. But that kind of striving, there's something about it that has changed or gone away, and I don't even know. But that's at least what happened to me during the
Yeah,
eclipse.
I see it as a shift. I see whatever you put in this time period, it's unlocking the key to something else, and you step through the doorway and you never go back.
Yeah.
So I see these shifts as permanent. There, you actually literally just planted the seeds, new moon, and so even bigger changes will come from it. Now that you feel free, now that you are more of an open cup, an empty vessel, who knows what there's room for? So it's
Exactly. Yeah, and if it weren't empty,
woo-hoo.
you wouldn't be able to like things wouldn't be able to emerge because there's just not even room or space for things to emerge. Can I tell you another thing, a funny story?
Sure.
So we dropped my son off. It's his first night in his dorm. And the dinner beforehand, we had a big picnic, and we had gone out. It was so hot. It was so hot. I don't even know how you can live in North Carolina. I just felt like I was going to die. It was 94, I think, and I don't know, like
It's cooler on the
a
coast.
bajillion% humidity. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot take this. It was so hot. And at one point, I thought, I'm sorry. Let's just go to an air-conditioned restaurant and eat. I know that there's a picnic that's happening, but I just cannot. The thought of sitting in a hot picnic and eating outside, I just cannot deal. So we went out to grab like an early dinner, and then when went back, we tried to go to the picnic and connect with people. But at that time, like everyone from Jaida's dorm had left. And so, you know how that natural, like you're going to the next thing, you gather all the people in the dorm and you walk over. So there was no one really for him to walk over with because we missed the window of when that was happening. And then we went to the picnic and he couldn't find anyone that he knew because he doesn't know anyone there because he's new. And so it was like this just kind of one of the biggest anxieties as a parent is that, when you send your kids to kindergarten or you send your kids to middle school or high school, it's like, I hope they make friends, that kind of thing. So of course that same kind of mentality is happening in college, and even more so because this time you're not around to give the pep talk afterwards. So we go over, he can't find anyone because he doesn't know anyone. And it's hard to break in because everyone is in that kind of like, I've found my two people and I don't, don't. And you don't know if they're best friends or they just met each other, so it feels awkward to break in. Anyway, so we had this awkward, entry into, socializing with his peers, and it was just awful. Like just when you're like, oh my God, this is just awful. And so he's like, I think I'm going to go back to my room. So we went back to the room. He was playing on, he's actually setting up his Mac and everything. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so awful and depressed after this whole thing. And so the three of us left, and I I was walking and just worrying about him. And I was like, stop worrying. Worrying is not a helpful emotion because it's not doing anything. So stop worrying. So I was trying to like think hopefully and, yeah, my husband was still worrying. Like all three of us were kind of worrying in different shades of gray. And I said, what's weird? I said to my husband, what's weird is anytime I think about being separated from my son, what happens is like I'll open my eyes and he'll be there. So for example, Gideon was running and he's like, wow, they were just, they just learned how to drive and I'm just like, they're leaving and I'm sad. And then as he was running, they drove right by him.
There they are.
There they are. Or same thing. I had exactly the same thing happen. And I said, that's the funny thing about all of this is that you feel like you're separate, but you're never separate. You cannot be separate. If you're all one, then you're never separate. So I was explaining that to him. And then we drove by and I was like, wait a second. Like right when we're having this like moment of anxiety. And I looked and I was like, there he is. He's walking outside with 4 new friends. And it was like literally just the thought, like, so there's in that moment, he was there again when we're having a moment, which to me just means we're never separate. Even when you think you're separate, like each of those little instances is the universe saying like, haha, this is a great cosmic joke. Like you're bajillion miles away, but you're never ever separate. And the last couple of days, I'm like, oh, I'm looking at my phone. I don't even know why I'm looking at my phone. And he's texted at that very moment. Like it's not ringed or anything because I'm like, why is the volume on? And so what's so nice is that you are always connected. They can be millions of miles away, but you're still connected. The physical distance doesn't mean anything. And that's so incredibly comforting. I can't even tell you. So that's my funny little story of how you're never separateness is a delusion.
I like that. It's beyond illusion. It's a delusion.
It's beyond an illusion or a delusion. Oh, right. When you say, I know who I am, I know how I serve, I know who I am, I know what I am. It's like I am divine. I am one with consciousness. There is no separation. I mean, that's part of what you're aligning to and part of Jida being far away helps me remember that. Like it's actually like a visceral kind of experiential sense that yeah, we are never separate. We are never separate, even though we think we are. And we're always one. Not just the two of us, but all of us, you and me, the butterflies and me behind you, like we're one. And so there's something really oddly comforting about that whole experiential sense of that.
I
So,
love it. It's reminding me when being on just it's a complete tangent, but I'm thinking we are truly all one. And at one point, I went to wash up on the what do you call it on the ferry. Jessica's outside, and then I didn't come back. And then eventually she comes in to find me because I've struck up the coolest conversation with one of the like assistant captains or whatever
I
his term
love it.
is
Yeah.
of the ferry, and we're having this long conversation as if he's family. And we are all one. We
Yeah.
are all one family. And if you remove that veil of separateness, yes, some people can drive you completely nuts because we are all family,
Right.
but it becomes so, so cool when you look at the world that way.
Yeah. It just feels more peaceful, I think, is that if you just remove that separateness and you just say that we're all one having this human experience. Um, can I share one more story from my dropping off Jida at Duke?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's interesting that uh, we're my parenting generation is called the helicoptering parenting, and in the drop off they had several parent orientation pep talks of which they tried to remind us not to helicopter, not to snowplow, and not to like hover over our children. And as a result, when they drop off, like I think it used to be like when you and I went to college, our parents dropped us off and they left. Now they actually, because helicoptering parents have such a hard time doing that, this is my guess. No one's ever said this officially, but you drop off the kid, let's say Tuesday, and then on Tuesday they have a series of events for you to go to. Then Wednesday there's a closing ceremony, which means like go now, closing. Which prior to the
Leave.
closing ceremony, they're like, don't helicopter, stop snow plowing, basically get the hell out of here, right? And then they have a closing ceremony, and then the next day it's like, we're assuming you're gone. Um, but what's so interesting is that during those events, so you get there and you drop off your kid at the dorm, and we sat there and like helped him feather his nest, get all his things, his clothes unpacked, and like where's your TV? Where do you want this to go? Where do you want that to go? That kind of thing. Not all the parents did that, but we ended up doing, and his roommate also did the similar kind of thing. But they had like back to back to back to back to back to back to back events, and I think it's because most people when they're feeling emptiness they want to fill it up with stuff to do so that they don't have to feel the emptiness. It was very interesting, and I could feel the compulsion and desire to want to do that, and in fact I did do that. We went several times to Target to buy stuff. We went to Bed Bath and Beyond to buy stuff and organize stuff and think about stuff for Jida and what kind of stuff he'd like. Like you're just 2 days of just like filled with stuff, filling in the stuff to deal with the emptiness, to really truly deal with the emptiness that you feel inside. And then after all of this ended, we stayed an extra day because we're one of those parents that just had to, not only did the timing not work out because the closing event wouldn't have left us enough time to fly back to Seattle, but also we just like, oh well, whatever, let's just stay an extra day. So we did, and we thought, what are we going to do with ourselves? Like we don't want to hover over our child, but at the same time, we're not quite done. So I said, I don't know, so we grabbed breakfast with our son that morning. We had that tearful goodbye. And then I said, I'm not sure. I think we're supposed to go walk around the campus. We walked around the campus. We walked towards his dorm. I'm like, oh, I know. We're supposed to have a closing ritual because, like, we're closing. And, like, yes, the school closed for us. Like, close, get the hell out of here. Like, I know it's hard. Goodbye. But I was like, no, but that's not the way I want to say goodbye. And why I want to say goodbye is reminding you like who you are, what you are, loving you, and then we took rocks. So very similar to you, I actually took 4 rocks, which were these pillars of things that I had my greatest hopes for him, representing the four of us as a family. And I took a rock on top of that, which was him now standing on top of this great, family foundation that I rebuilt. And we walked over, and I went over to his dorm, and I filled it with white light, and I prayed with my ancestors, and I prayed with the spirits, and like anyone else who wants to show up that's of the light, to come and protect my son, and to have him be there with his, at home, be at peace, feel comfort, grow, love, and be a supportive, nurturing environment. So I was just doing all these prayers. I then left this like little itty bitty 4 stones with this rock on top of it on the actual premise. And then, I blessed him, the people in the dorm, the university, and just left. And it just felt so good. I got to tell you, like, I feel like they should have that at every college goodbye because it felt so much better than the rushing around and filling stuff. That felt so unfulfilling, fulfilling in some ways, but very unfulfilling emotionally. Anyhow.
You made it sacred.
I did, and I was really proud of myself to take something that could have been not sacred and made it really, it's like, this is your new home. God bless you. God bless your journey. God bless the people in this dorm. May you be, traveling safe. I just filled it with prayers, and I had a little memento that I left. And then I thought, oh, well, this is the thing I'm supposed to be bringing back. And I picked up this little button, and it said, "Be good" on it.
I love it.
I didn't know what it would say. I just saw it. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to pick this up. And there was that was my memento. Left something and then picked something up. So it was really beautiful.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
I like the idea of living each day, each moment. It's so hard to remember, but living the moments sacred. Each day you get up, make it a sacred day. Each activity, even if it's a business meeting, and especially if it's a business meeting, make each thing super present and super sacred. And that's what you did. And I think it shifts your perspective on everything and shifts your takeaway on everything.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I went from like feeling at dis-ease, like I just left like, and then I left like, okay, that was it. This is why we stayed an extra day. This is why we're here. And I feel at peace now. I can go home now. Like I could just, and I did. Like I haven't really, I mean, we've called him a couple times, mostly to give him our credit card numbers. But aside from that, and find out, what, about his friends and, what he kind of thinks he's doing. But yeah, it's really nice. It's been nice. I'm actually really proud of how I've navigated through this in a very conscious and aware process. And the dividends of this have paid off. Like I really feel more at peace and the emptiness with completeness, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't know what to expect, but this is what I'm getting as the outcome of all this really hard work and conscious thinking and being throughout. So I'm really proud of myself.
Awesome. It sounds so much like it's tied to as strange as it is, it's tied to the eclipse. Because after the eclipse, there's such a sense of, if you're present at least during it, and if not, you can still do these, still go through this now and make a sacred ritual now. There's such a sense of completion to it, of I've stepped through that doorway. We'll see what the future brings, but I've put myself out there. I've put myself forward, and now it's good. No matter what, it's good.
I have to say one edit to that, which is interesting because I've talked to a couple of clients. I haven't had this myself, and it sounds like you haven't had this, or sort of did with the fire ants, where.
But many of my clients have.
Are you?
Many of my
clients okay? Tell me what I'm about to tell you.
Well, this is a time of burning away and transformation.
Yes.
And so it has been for many of my clients, at least initially, a very destabilizing time.
Yes.
And I think it's just a burning away of the old, just like the fire ants. It's just a burning away of the old. So yes, I got mine on the beach.
You literally got fire ants attacking your heels. But it's like it's whatever is not done. It's the part that he said, the Mercury retrograde, where it's about integration and looking back and kind of like kind of whatever you still need to, like there's like a firehouse sale of like stuff that you still haven't resolved. It's coming up fast and furious right now. Is that what's
It's a
happening for your
cleansing.
clients too?
It is. It's a cleansing. I can't help but think of what's going on with the different storms, at least on this part of the planet right now. It is a cleansing. It is a burning away, and some of it really uncomfortable and difficult. But I think something great can come out of these experiences. And so it is a when you put your intention out there with a new moon, when you put your intention out there with an eclipse, and this is like the super eclipse, new moon of new moons, change is going to happen fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that change can feel, it can suck your breath away. It can feel so uncomfortable at the moment, but it's really there to serve you for the long run. But it does mean, and I've had many a session with a coaching client of where we worked through this because it's like fasten your seatbelt and hold on. I feel completely spun and upside down and in crisis and terrible. And what's going on here? Now that we've experienced that a lot, but there's something, especially if you know this is the time for that. This is part of that journey. Then it's much easier to be okay with it and to realize, as I say, I don't know if you can ever say way too much, but through you, for you, not to you. The universe is always working through you and for you, not to you. When you appear that the hammer is dropping on your head right now, something amazing can still be coming out of this. It may just take a while. And that doesn't negate that there can be true tragedies. But if we step back the aperture enough, there's always something great that can come out of an experience.
Mm-hmm. And I absolutely think that that's true. I mean, me literally leaving my son at college at the same time, right? It's like it's so hard and it's like a huge growth opportunity. And I've had client after client talk about like this has been the hardest week. I just got my butt kicked and here's what happened. And it sounds catastrophic. And it's because these are just little bits that still need to be resolved. And once those things, they're they're in service of the greater intention that you had articulated. And in order to round that corner, these are some things that are still left to be attended to. And like, thank goodness they're happening, so that they're happening right in the Mercury retrograde when the planetary forces are there to support this actual activity. So it makes it much more hopeful. I talked to my client, Mike. Now, I'm having said this, I'm not 100% sure this is true, but I will tell you that this is what they say is happening astrologically, and you can choose to believe it or not. And I guess another way you can look at this is say, if it makes you feel better, then believe it. If it doesn't make you feel better, then don't believe it. This is just a matter of choice and choosing your reality. So you can go through many different ways of looking at this. So you can say, that's a bunch of hogwash. It makes me irritated. Okay, drop all of this. But if it's like for her, she said, "Oh my gosh, when you said that, it just put me instantly at peace, knowing that there is a reason for why this is happening and it's all for my greater good." And I was like, "Okay, then take it. Take it, believe it, and stay in that place, because if it makes you feel whole and good, that's more important than anything. Whether you believe in this astrology thing or not, it doesn't even matter. Just take it and run with it. And if it makes you feel good, then continue doing it." Anyways, that's my caveat all the time when I talk to clients. Because it's hard, because it's like I'm not an astrologer, but I'm following these things, assuming if it works for me and it makes me happy and it makes me more complete and intentional, then why not do it? What is the harm? No harm at all, I think. So,
It's it's all at the end of the day. It's all illusion. It's all real. It's all what we believe. It's all not what we believe. It really is what we make of it.
right. Exactly.
It is.
Yeah, so if it makes you happy, you feel more intentional, happy, and whole, then continue doing it. If it doesn't, then don't believe it. You don't have to believe any of this stuff. But at least for my clients that have heard that, they feel way more calm when they hear that. And it calms me too. Not that I've actually haven't had a hard time, but for people that have had a hard time, it's a reason. Anyways, any closing words for you?
weather the storms, these too shall pass.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess if I added anything on top of that, what are you waiting for? Live life large now. Now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, not 10 years from now. Now. That's all you got.
Yes. You are free. You are free. You are free.
I am free. I am free. I am free.
Woohoo!
For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou.
saying, be well, have fun, live the most epic life you can today, and shine bright.
Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.